Hello chess lovers, Suren here, and in this video I want to share with you a very exciting game played in round 9 at 2020 Gibraltar Masters, with white pieces playing Argentine chess grandmaster Pichot and his opponent Czech chess grandmaster David Navara. Without further ado, let's get started with this fascinating game. So Pichot was playing with the white pieces opened up with e4, to which Navara responded with Sicilian defense c5. Knight f3, d6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, and a6. Navara is going for Najdorf variation, against which Pichot chooses Adam's attack h3. This line is named after American chess master Wither Adams, and by going for h3, white prepares g2 g4 thrust. This is a line which American chess grandmaster Bobby Fischer was also acquiring. e6, g4, bishop e7, g5, knight d7, and h4. But the downside of this line is that white first played h3 and then h4, thus losing a precious time. b5, meanwhile black is advancing on the queen side, a3, preventing b4, bishop b7, bishop e3, knight c6, queen d2, rook c8, and rook h3. Other popular alternatives are castling queenside or knight takes c6, but in our game we have rook h3. White wants to switch into the attack his rook from the third rank. Also in some lines maybe the rook can play a defensive role by supporting the knight on c3. b4, a takes b4, knight takes b4, and knight b1. White wants to kick away the knight from b3 by playing c3. a5, c3, knight c6, knight b5, but later we will see that the knight and the rook on a1 will fall behind in development. d5, an interesting move by Navara. He's going for a pawn sacrifice and in return is opening up the position. And then we have castling kingside. So black has already completed castling while white king is stuck in the center of the board. Of course, in here Pichot could proceed with the quiet knight a3 move, something which looks very good, but instead he chose this sharp-looking knight a7 move. Knight takes a7, and in return we have queen takes b7. Right now we have a hanging piece on a7. By playing knight c6, black could head for a quiet game and then knight e5, but in our game, after queen takes b7, we have bishop c5. So after pawn sacrifice, this time Navara goes for a piece sacrifice, guys, and this is crazy. Bishop takes c5. So far so good, but this bishop takes c5 is an inaccuracy. Instead, it was better to play knight d2. This is a line suggested by Stockfish, and it turns out that only by going for knight d2 and following this line, white is managing to maintain advantage. This rook is just in time, and if knight e5, then rook d1. Looks like that white is managing to consolidate his position and white is doing better. But instead in our game, after bishop c5, we have bishop takes c5. So Pichot is interested in grabbing the free piece, but is it free? Queen takes a7. Rook e8 check. Not really, because white king is stuck in the center of the board and now will become a target for aggressive black pieces. Rook takes e3 check, f takes e3, queen e8, king f2, knight e4 check. And so we reached the critical point of the game where Pichot made a mistake by playing king f3. Instead, it was better to move back the king on e1. Or g1 is also good. If knight c5, then king f2. White can repeat the moves, but instead we have a bold looking king f3, a very risky decision by Pichot, which turns out to be a mistake and is allowing black to gain advantage. f5 strengthening the knight on e4, and also queen h5 can follow. G takes f6, white captured en passant, and there we have it, queen h5 check. Despite the fact that white removed the defender, black anyways went for queen h5 check, thus sacrificing the knight. King takes e4, and all this looks scary, guys, despite the fact that white has two extra pieces But everything is not so easy, and now Black is starting a ferocious king hunt. That was a mistake by Pichot to voluntarily centralize his king, and now White king is becoming a target for aggressive black pieces. Queen e7, White is giving up his queen because other continuations are losing on the spot. On the other hand, Queen e7 is also not saving the game. If King d5, then Queen e6 check, King c5, Queen takes e3, yes, again, this is winning. White is losing his queen, but let's proceed with our game. So after Rook e8 check, we have Queen e7, and G takes f6 check. Of course, winning the queen straight away is also winning, but that's not as precise as G takes f6, King d6, Queen d1 check, King e6, and only now we have Rook takes e7. As we have a hanging bishop on f1, only now Navara is winning the queen. King takes e7, and we have Queen takes f1. So we have a position where these guys are still on their initial squares. Yes, I remember that White first played knight c3 and then knight b1 c3, but now the pieces are on their initial squares and they're demoralized, you know. How are you going to activate your rook when the knight is hanging? So White went for a desperate b4 move. A takes b4 followed. C takes b4, Queen d3, Rook a8 check, and after King g7, yeah, finally we have a resignation. Your knight is hanging. If I move like here, then Queen e4 check, winning the rook, and yeah, there is no defense. White is suffering heavy losses, that's why after King g7 we have a resignation. That's it, dear chess lovers. This was a very exciting game, and it looks like that this is the first game in 2020 where we see such a ferocious king hunt, something which you won't see every day in modern chess. In the end, a simple chess puzzle where the task is to find a winning move for White. The task is very easy, and I will wait for your answer in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Here are more suggestions for you. Feel free to check them out as well. I will see you in my next video. Take care.